if you've ever felt like this, but I definitely had, where I feel like I go to the Lord for like some direction or some guidance, and I either don't hear anything or it's like the same thing I've already tried. Like as we get into Exodus chapter 19 today, Moses, I feel like kind of goes through that. And so I feel like I can like feel him and understand him on a different level with the Israelites and hearing from God. So you know what? Let's go Exodus chapter 19. Come on in and join me. Hey, y'all. Welcome back, or welcome to His Word, My Walk. Right now, we are going through the book of Exodus, but my true desire with this entire channel and community is to bring you faith-based content to help you grow in your relationship with God, to help you get consistent spending time with God in His Word, reading the Bible, and to help you experience God in a fresh way every day in your own life. And so that's truly my desire here. I'm here to try my best to answer some questions, but also to just be that like sister to hang out with and read the Bible with. And so I'm so grateful for you. I just like appreciate you so much and your encouragement and your testimonies and everything that you share in the comments. And even those of you who don't comment, I am just like extremely grateful for you. And y'all know we have been in the book of Exodus. So let's just continue on. Okay, let's continue on in chapter 19. So now Moses just got that advice, right, from his father-in-law, which this is actually so cool. I just had a conversation with a friend like 2 days ago. And if you don't know, sometimes I record these a little bit in advance. But I just had a conversation with a friend like 2 days ago and was able to share about like delegating and being like, why are you doing all this? Like, what's the point? And truly was like, no, you need to go read Exodus chapter 18, or you can read it with me right here. And so I love God's timing as we read. And this is one of the reasons why I'm like, just turn the page. Like, let's keep going. God will speak, and His word is so alive for right where we are. And so let's just go. All right. Exactly 2 months after the Israelites left Egypt, they arrived in the wilderness of Sinai. That's interesting. Exactly 2 months after the Israelites left Egypt. So how far is it supposed to be? Because remember, it was like the 3-day journey to the wilderness to worship the Lord. Now it's exactly 2 months after. That also gives us insight into, remember a couple chapters ago when we read about the manna? And the Bible said that for 40 years, right? And so that has to now be a flashback. We can now understand even timing like that. So if you're new to hanging out with me and us here, a lot of the questions that I ask are to help you think and to help you have the freedom when you're reading God's word to be curious. I'm not here to give you all the answers. I'm here to help you get curious. And some of my favorite comments are when you're like, so I went and did some research. And if you've never scrolled through the comments, like do that. There's people sharing from other studies and what words mean in different languages and different translations. It's actually so incredible. But this now, as we've kept reading, okay, well, that couldn't have encapsulated all 40 years, right? That was like a bonus put in to understand that God did that. Because here we read, exactly 2 months after the Israelites left Egypt, they arrived in the wilderness of Sinai. After breaking camp at Rephidim, they came to the wilderness of Sinai and set up camp there at the base of Mount Sinai. Now remember how many people were talking, right? Let's always remember how many people were talking when we talk about the Israelites. Then Moses climbed the mountain to appear before God. The Lord called to him from the mountain and said, "Give these instructions to the family of Jacob. Announce it to the descendants of Israel." Remember, Jacob, Israel, same person, name change. I wonder why God even used the word Jacob there, or the name Jacob, right? Why did God use the name Jacob? Why didn't He just stick with Israel? Is there an importance for labeling them as Jacob? Remember, Jacob had Jacob, trickster, Israel, right? Like a shift in the name. Is there a significance that God would address them there as Jacob? Give these instructions to the family of Jacob. Announce it to the descendants of Israel. You have seen what I did to the Egyptians. You know how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now let's slow that down a little bit. This is God speaking to Moses. But if we even go back to verse 3, then Moses climbed. I am so sorry. My voice is like, what is going on? I wasn't froggy at all until this very moment. Whew. Okay, Lord, let's go. Verse 3 says, Then Moses climbed the mountain to appear before God. And it made me examine myself in that. Like, what effort am I willing to put in to appear before God? Moses climbed this mountain to appear before God. I just got back this morning from hiking a local mountain that I hike often, but I think so often we live in this new covenant and New Testament and personal relationship with God that we often don't think of like putting in effort. Moses went up the mountain. Moses climbed the mountain to appear before God and put in effort. And it's just something that I can examine within myself. How much effort am I willing to put in? Whether it's spending time with him in his word and doing some research to try to understand deeper or apply his word to my life, or whether it's like putting in effort to actually go to church, to build relationships, putting in effort to put myself in situations where I believe I can hear from God and listen to him best, making effort and time to journal. Like Moses climbed the mountain to appear before God. He put that effort in. The Lord called to him from the mountain and said, Give these instructions to the family of Jacob. Announce it to the descendants of Israel. You have seen what I did to the Egyptians. Yep. You know how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. What's the importance there of carried you on eagle's wings? If you go and look into some commentaries, if you go and look into studies about eagles in the Bible, because we know this isn't the first, but the fact that God says that he carried them on eagle's wings as children, there's something really cool about how eagles carry their young, different than a lot of other birds. So you can go and do some fun research into that. Now, if you will obey me and keep my covenant, you will be my own special treasure from among all the peoples on the earth, for all the earth belongs to me. If you do this, that sounds like, almost like a deal that God is making, right? If you will obey me and keep my covenant, you will be my special treasure. So what if they don't? What if they don't obey him? What if they don't keep his covenant? I mean, we're obviously going to keep reading, right? Verse 6, and you will be my kingdom of priests, my holy nation. This is the message you must give to the people of Israel. And you will be my kingdom of priests. Now, as we move on, right, not all of them are priests, but what's the symbol and what's the understanding if God were to say to them that you will be a kingdom of priests? What access did priests have that like a lay person didn't have? And then that also makes us understand again how I shared previously what they had to go through to communicate with God in the Old Testament. I don't have to go through a priest. I don't have to go through another person. I don't have to wait for Moses to climb the mountain, hear from God, come back down and tell me about what the Lord has said. I now, because of the sacrifice of Jesus Christ and that he died, that he was resurrected, right? That he is seated at the right hand of the Father, because of his sacrifice, I can go straight to God. And if you're reading with me live, we are in the middle of Holy Week right now. So it's just so front of my relationship with God and this time of year that we celebrate the death and the burial and the resurrection of Jesus. And to be able to even look as we read in the Old Testament and even just recognize what Jesus did and how different our life is now from theirs then. All right. Verse 7, so Moses returned from the mountain and called together the elders of the people and told them everything the Lord had commanded him. Moses returned from the mountain and called together the elders of the people and told them everything the Lord had commanded him. He's the messenger, and he knows that that's his assignment. Also, where's Aaron? Is Aaron not there with him anymore? Is now Moses has grown in his own, like, not just relationship with God, but his own boldness? Remember the time that Moses was like, I can't speak right? Does Moses, if it was a stutter, does Moses still stutter, but now it's just not an excuse for him? Now he's raised up in this boldness? What? Like, let's actually think about stuff like that. Because did God heal whatever his speech issue was? Or did God heal his mind about how God would use him? You know? Because then we can look at our lives in such a different way too. I've shared with you before, sometimes God didn't change my actual situation that I thought was the issue, but my heart and my mind around the situation completely changed. And so I just think that's cool to think about when we see Moses speak to God and come back and relay the message to the Israelites. So called together all the elders of the people and told them everything the Lord had commanded him. And all the people responded together, we will do everything the Lord has commanded. So Moses brought the people's answer back to the Lord. Now, let's listen and Moses brought the people's answer back to the Lord. Do you remember where he met with the Lord? Up on the mountain. I actually was able to share some of this, a women's conference that I spoke at last summer. I was sharing through this about going up and down the mountain. But in my journal, when I went through this is June 3rd, 2022. When I was going through Exodus day by day by day, sometimes spending days on one chapter in my journal, I got curious. How long did it take for Moses to climb up? How high is Mount Sinai then? And I did some research, and maybe it's not completely accurate, right? I went to Wikipedia. I went to one that was actually on like a news channel that had created a story of the historical account of that as well. But it says that the summit of Mount Sinai then in Exodus was 2,285 meters. Now, I'm Canadian, so I understand meters a little bit. But in order for me to get and grasp how high that actually was, I looked up the summit of the mountain that I hike locally, that I actually just did this morning, that I like sweat and like breathe heavy. If you follow me on social media, you see I often share as I'm climbing up that mountain. So Knox Mountain summit, 300 meters. And so I probably go 200 to 250 meters is what I like calculated. Then I said, okay, well, I can get to the plateau, like the 200 meter mark in 8 minutes. And I go fast. I also am 6 feet tall, so I take pretty long strides, right? I'm like booking it. This is my workout in 8 minutes. So if I do, then I like did some math, right? 2,285 meters divided by 200, 11.4 times 8 minutes. So I came to like 91 minutes. If Moses is booking it at the rate that I hike with gusto. So then when I looked up on some other sources, it said it was estimated for Moses to go up and down the mountain was 4.5 hours, estimated. What effort am I willing to put in, right? And so Moses hears what the people say, and then all the people responded together. We will do everything the Lord has commanded. So Moses brought the people's answer back to the Lord. Like, he didn't sit and like communicate with them. He was like, I am the messenger. I am on assignment. Okay, great. Went up, came back down, going back up. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will come to you in a thick cloud, Moses, so the people themselves can hear me when I speak with you. Then they will always trust you. That is so cool. That is so cool because remember, we've asked before, like, how does Moses hear God? How is God speaking? We remember the burning bush. But now the fact that he's saying, I will come to you in a thick cloud so the people themselves can hear me when I speak with you. Is that meaning it's an audible voice? The people can hear God when God speaks to Moses. Like, it's like, makes me think that like God cares that Moses is validated. Like, God cares that what Moses is speaking to them, that they can't question if it's the Lord or not. They're going to hear it as well. And I think that is so cool. There have been a lot of times in my life that I pray for for that kind of validation, that I don't always need it because I know I'm doing what God has called me to do, but that God cares. God cares about that. And so he goes back up. So the people themselves can hear me when I speak with you. Then they will always trust you. Moses told the Lord what the people had said. Then the Lord told Moses, go down and prepare the people for my arrival. Consecrate them today and tomorrow and have them wash their clothing. Go back down. Remember, this isn't just like a 30-minute or a 10-minute or what we may think. Like Moses goes up to the mountain and speaks with the Lord, comes back down and relays the message, goes back up, comes back down. Potentially a 4.5-hour round trip that Moses is doing to relay the message from the Lord to the people. Verse 11, be sure they are ready on the third day, for on that day, the Lord will come down on Mount Sinai as all the people watch. Be sure they are ready on the third day. What would ready look like? Like he said to them, go down and prepare the people. Consecrate them today and tomorrow and have them wash their clothing. Is that what be ready meant? Consecrate them, what did that include? And wash their clothing. Verse 12, mark off a boundary all around the mountain. Warn the people, be careful. Do not go up on the mountain or even touch its boundaries. Anyone who touches the mountain will certainly be put to death. Why? Why could they not get close to God? Why could they not go up the mountain? Why did they set up boundaries? And it's also kind of cool that God tells Moses, like, hey, set up this boundary. Like, don't just let anyone run willy-nilly. Like, make it clear. There's a boundary here. Let's make it clear that people can see that there's a boundary. Let's not talk about it, right? Let's not keep it unknown or keep it ambiguous or keep it a like, oh, well, maybe. No, set up the boundary. This is the boundary that you don't cross. I think that's so cool that it's very specific and very like real, and they set it up. They don't say like, hey, don't go very far. No, here's the boundary. Anyone who touches the mountain will certainly be put to death. No hand may touch the person or animal that crosses the boundary. Instead, stone them or shoot them with arrows. Where did they get arrows from? Did they take those from the Egyptians in the plunder in the water at the Red Sea? I don't know. Like, I'm just curious, right? They must be put to death. However, when the ram's horn sounds a long blast, then the people may go up on the mountain. Your translation may say like when the trumpet sounds, which then makes me curious. Who's blowing the trumpet? How is this sound coming? The ram's horn, right? Because sometimes when we'll read like when the trumpet sounds, we're picturing like a brass trumpet. But I like that the New Living Translation also helps us understand the idea of what it was. And so when the ram's horn sounds a long blast, then the people may go up on the mountain. Who would sound the ram's horn? Was it just a sound that would come from the Lord? Was someone assigned to it? Was Moses going to blow this horn? These are things, obviously, we're going to keep reading, but these are things we can be curious about in that. And also, how many people died? How many people went beyond the boundary? How many people touched the mountain? So Moses went down to the people. He consecrated them for worship, and they washed their clothes. He told them, get ready for the third day. And until then, abstain from having sexual intercourse. What would that have to do with it? Right? Why would they have to abstain from having sexual intercourse as well? On the morning of the third day, thunder roared and lightning flashed, and a dense cloud came down on the mountain. There was a long, loud blast from a ram's horn, and all the people trembled. I find that interesting that they trembled, like this sound and this darkness, even though they were warned that this is not warned, but like kind of warned, right? But they were told this is what's going to happen, but still they trembled. Moses led them out from the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. Let's not forget how many people this is. Okay. All of Mount Sinai was covered with smoke because the Lord had descended on it in the form of fire. The smoke billowed into the sky like smoke from a brick kiln, and the whole mountain shook violently. So there's smoke, there's fire, there's cloud, there's an earthquake. I would be scared too, right? I would be scared too. As the blast of the ram's horn grew louder and louder, Moses spoke, and God thundered his reply. With all of this, with the darkness, with the fire, with the thunder, with the clouds, with the ram's horn, how did they even hear Moses? How did the people even hear Moses? How could Moses speak loud enough? The Lord came down on the top of Mount Sinai and called Moses to the top of the mountain. So Moses climbed the mountain. How did Moses know God called him? Was this an audible voice too? Moses, right? This is how I picture it. Moses, come back up here. And then let's remember how long that journey is. That Moses is going to go. I wonder if some of them were like, no, Moses, don't go. Like, you're going to die. Don't go. I wonder if any of them thought that. You know, these are things that we can actually be curious about. Verse 21, then the Lord told Moses, go back down and warn the people not to break through the boundaries to see the Lord, or they will die. Okay. As I was reading this and as I was sharing this and going back through my journal, it actually made me laugh what I wrote. Verse 23, right? Is that where we're at? Verse 23? Oh, but Moses protested. That's the very next verse. But Moses protested. The people cannot come up to Mount Sinai. You already warned us. You told me, mark off a boundary all around the mountain to set it apart as holy. Yes, we're going to go back up. But it's like Moses climbed all the way up and God said the same thing. Like, I already know that. You called me all the way back up here to tell me the same thing that I already knew and that I already told them. Do I ever feel like that with God? Do I ever feel like I already tried that? I already did that. Let's go back to verse 21. Then the Lord told Moses, go back down and warn the people not to break through the boundaries to see the Lord, or they will die. Got it? Even the priests who regularly come near to the Lord must purify themselves so that the Lord does not break out and destroy them. Even the priests. But didn't God just say, you will be a community of priests, right? You will be my kingdom of priests. And if we go on into the New Testament, Peter even speaks about that. As believers, now that we are like priests, right? Being able to go before the Lord. But Moses, the Lord's telling him, even the priests who regularly come near to the Lord must purify themselves so that the Lord does not break out and destroy them. But Lord, Moses protested, the people cannot come up to Mount Sinai. You already warned us. You told me, mark off a boundary all around the mountain to set it apart as holy. But the Lord said, go down and bring Aaron back up with you. Oh, there's Aaron. But let's still go back because we can examine ourselves in that. And I was laughing as I examined myself. Like, but God, I already did that. How do I react when God tells me to do something again? The same thing again. How do I react when God's like, do this again, remind them again, do it again? Or if I feel like God is even like, hey, we got another level, like, hey, I got something to tell you. We're going to go a different route. And then it's the same. Like the effort that Moses put in to go and hear from the Lord, to take what the people had said. Moses didn't even react to the people. He actually just was like, let me take what the people said to the Lord. You know, like, he's very clear about when the Lord commands it and what the Lord said and what would be his own words. And then I get to examine myself in even how I speak as well. But to do the same thing, am I willing to do that? Like, how do I feel when I feel like God is like, well, try it again. Nope, do the same thing. You got the same instruction. You're still there. Same job. Go back to the same job again today. But God, I thought we were changing something. Oh, go back again, the same one again. God, I'm really praying for you to provide for me. Well, go back to work at the same job. You'll get a paycheck in 2 weeks. What? I've already been doing that and nothing's changing. Nothing's helping. How do I react when I feel like God asked me to try the same thing again? Moses protested. And I love this because we've been talking about coming clean with God. I love how honest Moses is. You know, and from the very start, Moses protested before the Lord even sent him to Egypt. But Lord, Moses protested, the people cannot come up to Mount Sinai. You already warned us. You told me, mark off a boundary all around the mountain to set apart as holy. But the Lord said, go down and bring Aaron back up with you. In the meantime, do not let the priests or the people break through to approach the Lord, or he will break out and destroy them. So Moses went down to the people and told them what the Lord had said. Not what he's wanted, but he told them what the Lord had said. I just think that is so cool. And like just so much of going up the mountain, down the mountain, up the mountain, down the mountain, and doing a little bit more research into the size of the mountain, how long it may have taken. If it took him 4.5 hours to go up and down, look how many times he just went up and down, just relaying the message. And then it's like, you called me back up here. I climbed back up here. I put in all this effort to get close to you, to hear from you. You're telling me the same thing again? How would I feel? How do I feel when that kind of thing happens? When I'm going through something with the Lord, when I'm going through something in my life and I keep bringing it toward him and I feel like he's giving me the same instruction over and over and over again. And I'm just relaying the message, relaying the message, relaying the message. I wonder if Moses' emotions are going to get involved. I wonder if Moses at some point is going to come down to them and be like, how many times do I have to tell you? We're going to keep reading. When it comes to Exodus 19, there's some great questions in here that I even talked about before, but one is just, what am I willing to do to appear before God, to spend time with God? Am I willing to climb a mountain? What kind of effort am I willing to put in? That's one of the questions to help you dig into you. Again, in these workbooks, there's 2 questions like that to dig into you from each chapter. But in this one, what am I willing to do to appear before God? Am I willing to get up early? Am I willing to go somewhere else on my lunch break, go spend time in my car? Am I willing to sit with my journal and the Bible? Am I willing to read his word? Am I willing to shift some things? Am I willing to start serving? Am I willing to do, what am I willing to do to appear before God? Am I willing to climb a mountain? Just to spend time with him? And as I was just asking that, I was just thinking like Moses climbed up and none of it was really for him. It was actually for others. All the effort that Moses put in to hear from the Lord was actually instruction and guidance and encouragement and wisdom and the Lord's word for others. Yeah, he was included in it, but it was for others. Okay, here's your walk it out challenge for today. Today, do it again. Take the same action again. How many times have you said, God, I tried that already? Yet with Moses, the Lord gave him the same instruction again and again, and Moses was obedient. If it's an application, a phone call, a podcast, a book, a church to try, do it again. The same way. Reset your mind and your heart and try it again. Try it again. Try it again. The same way that he instructed you. All right, let me pray before we go. God, I thank you. I thank you that we have the ability and the opportunity to spend time with you, to truly put in some effort, to climb a mountain and be in your presence. That in order to spend time in your presence, we don't have to be fearful. But because of what you did, because you sent your Son, Jesus Christ, to walk on earth blamelessly, to die for our sins, to fully die, to be resurrected with all power, and to sit at the right hand of you. God, I thank you that we now can come directly to you, that there is no boundary for when we want to spend time with you. But God, I just pray that we have a stirring inside of us for that desire to put in effort to spend time with you. I pray over the one watching and the one listening for a stirring inside them, to not just want to spend time with you, but to put in the effort and to try again and to try again and to try again and to trust your word and to trust your way. You have a plan and you have a purpose. And sometimes, God, we just need to walk it out again and again and again. And I pray for an increase in our desire to be obedient, to try again. I thank you, God, for your word. I thank you, God, for your sacrifice. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. You know what's coming next? The 10 Commandments. We're at the 10 Commandments. Let's move on to Exodus chapter 20.